All right, so today's going to be looking at Vanessa Van Edwards' book, Cues. You sent over some really fantastic articles summarizing it. And I have to say, this stuff is really interesting. We're going to be exploring how to unlock charisma using specific cues, nonverbal cues, vocal cues, the whole shebang.
Yeah, what's fascinating about this book to me is that Van Edwards really demystifies charisma. She presents it as a science, not some magical trait that you're either born with or you're not. It all boils down to two key elements: warmth and competence.
Right, and striking that right balance is crucial. I mean, I'm picturing like someone who's all warmth but no competence. They might be the life of the party but never get that promotion.
Right.
And then there's the super competent person who lacks warmth, so they're respected but maybe not invited to the party in the first place.
Exactly. Think of it this way. Warmth makes people feel comfortable and connected to you, while competence inspires trust and respect. It's about being both approachable and capable.
Okay, so how do these cues come into play then? I'm guessing nonverbal communication is a big part of the equation.
Absolutely. Van Edwards highlights that a whopping 65 to 90% of our communication is nonverbal. That means our body language, our facial expressions, even our posture, all of that is speaking volumes before we even utter a word.
Wow, that's mind-blowing. So even if I'm saying all the right things, my body language could be totally contradicting my message.
Exactly. For example, imagine you're pitching a brilliant idea in a meeting, but you're slouched in your chair with your arms crossed. What message do you think you're sending?
Definitely not one of confidence or enthusiasm, more like, I don't even believe in this myself.
Right, but if you sat up straight, leaned in slightly, and maintained eye contact, you'd project an entirely different message, one of engagement, confidence, and belief in your idea.
So it's like learning a whole new language, the language of cues. Tell me more about these nonverbal cues. What are some specific examples that project warmth, confidence, or charisma?
Van Edwards breaks them down into categories, which makes it much easier to understand and apply. Let's start with charisma cues. Two important ones are leaning and fronting. Leaning towards someone shows you're interested and engaged, while fronting means angling your body towards them.
I'm noticing I do this naturally when I'm engrossed in a conversation. So it's about being present both physically and mentally.
Exactly. Now let's move on to warmth cues. A classic example is the head tilt.
I've always wondered about the head tilt. It seems so simple, yet it can be incredibly disarming. What's the psychology behind it?
It signals curiosity and a willingness to listen. Think about it. When a dog tilts its head, it's trying to understand what you're saying. We do the same thing instinctively. It shows that we're open and receptive to the other person.
That makes so much sense. It's like we're subconsciously saying, I'm all ears. Are there any other warmth cues that are particularly effective?
Nodding is another powerful one. It signifies agreement and encourages the other person to keep talking. But it's not just about the gesture itself, it's about the timing and sincerity. A well-timed nod can make someone feel truly heard and understood.
I'm realizing I need to be more conscious of my nodding. I think I tend to overdo it sometimes, which can come across as insincere.
That's a great point. It's all about finding that sweet spot, nodding enough to show that you're listening, but not so much that it becomes robotic or distracting.
Okay, what about smiling? I assume that's a big one for warmth, but I often struggle to smile genuinely when I'm feeling nervous or uncomfortable. Any tips on how to make it look authentic?
Van Edwards emphasizes the importance of what she calls the savor smile. This isn't your typical quick fleeting smile. It's a smile that slowly spreads across your face, reaches your eyes, and lingers for a moment.
I've noticed that people who have a genuine savor smile are magnetic. What makes it so effective?
It conveys genuine joy and connection. It's like you're savoring the moment, which makes the other person feel special and valued.
I'm definitely going to practice my savor smile in the mirror. What other warmth cues should we have in our arsenal?
Touch can be incredibly powerful, but it needs to be used carefully and appropriately. A light touch on the arm or shoulder can create an instant bond, especially when paired with a genuine compliment or a shared laugh.
I could see how that would work, but I'm also a bit wary of touch, especially in professional settings. Are there any cultural differences we should be aware of?
Absolutely. Van Edwards stresses the importance of being culturally sensitive. What's considered appropriate in one culture might be completely taboo in another. It's always best to err on the side of caution and observe how others are interacting before initiating any physical contact.
Good point. It's always better to be safe than sorry. What about mirroring? I've heard that can be a great way to build rapport, but I worry about coming across as creepy or insincere.
Mirroring is a fascinating technique, but it's all about subtlety. It's not about mimicking someone's every move, but rather subtly reflecting their body language, posture, or even tone of voice.
So if someone is leaning forward and speaking softly, I might subtly do the same to create a sense of connection.
Exactly. It's about creating a subconscious sense of harmony and understanding. When done well, mirroring can make the other person feel like you're on the same wavelength.
This is all so intriguing. I feel like I'm starting to see the world through a whole new lens. Noticing all these subtle cues that I've never paid attention to before. Okay, so we've covered charisma and warmth. What about competence? What nonverbal cues can we use to project that all-important aura of authority and capability?
One of the most powerful cues for confidence is power posture.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about power posing. I've heard about it, but I'm not sure I fully understand it.
Think about how you stand when you feel confident and in control. You're probably standing tall, shoulders back, head held high, taking up space. That's power posture. It's about owning your presence and projecting an air of authority.
So no slouching allowed. I can definitely see how that would make a difference. Is there any research to support the effectiveness of power posing?
Studies have shown that adopting a power posture can actually change your body chemistry, increasing testosterone levels and decreasing cortisol levels, which are associated with stress.
Wow, so it's not just about appearances. It's about actually feeling more confident and powerful.
Exactly. And it's not just about standing tall. It's about using your body language to convey a sense of confidence and capability in any situation.
So even if I'm sitting down, I can still project power posture?
Absolutely. It's about sitting up straight, keeping your shoulders relaxed but not hunched, and maintaining good eye contact.
I'm starting to see how all of these cues work together to create a cohesive message of warmth, competence, and charisma. What about eye contact? I know it's important, but I often struggle to maintain eye contact without feeling awkward or staring people down.
Eye contact is a powerful tool, but it's all about finding that balance between engagement and intensity. For competence, Van Edwards talks about the flexed lid.
Flexed lid, that sounds intriguing. What exactly is that?
It involves subtly narrowing your eyes by slightly tightening your lower eyelids.
I would have thought that narrowing your eyes might make you look angry or unapproachable.
It can, but the key is subtlety. It's a very slight narrowing, not a full-on glare. Think of it like you're focusing your gaze, showing that you're paying attention and processing information.
I see. It's like you're using your eyes to show that you're really present and engaged. Are there any hand gestures that project confidence?
Van Edwards highlights the power of steepling. Have you ever noticed yourself doing this?
Steepling? Oh, you mean when you press your fingertips together, forming a triangle shape?
Exactly. It's a gesture often seen in leaders and people in positions of authority.
I do that all the time, especially when I'm trying to appear confident or thoughtful. Is there a reason why it conveys competence?
It signals that you're carefully considering what's being said, that you're weighing your options before speaking. It projects an aura of intelligence and control.
Fascinating. I never realized that such a simple gesture could have such a powerful impact. What about other hand gestures? Are there any that we should avoid?
While some hand gestures can enhance your message, others can be distracting or even off-putting. For example, fidgeting with your hands pointing your finger or making over-the-dramatic gestures can undermine your credibility and make you appear nervous or insecure.
So it's all about being mindful of our movements and using our hands intentionally to support our message. What other competence cues should we be aware of?
Explanatory gestures are important for conveying competence. These are hand movements that clarify or emphasize your words. When you use gestures that are purposeful and in sync with your message, you appear more engaging, confident, and knowledgeable.
That makes perfect sense. It's like our hands are helping to paint a picture for the listener, making our words more vivid and memorable. Are there any other hand gestures that can enhance our communication?
There's one more that I think is particularly intriguing. Van Edwards calls it the palm flash. It's simply the act of briefly showing your open palm during a conversation.
I'm not sure I've ever noticed anyone doing that consciously. Is it really that effective?
It might seem subtle, but it's a powerful way to signal trust, openness, and honesty. Think about it. When someone approaches you with their palms up, it conveys a sense of non-threat, like they have nothing to hide.
That's true. I feel like I instinctively relax a bit when someone shows me their open palms.
Exactly. It's a primal signal that goes back to our earliest ancestors. It's like we're subconsciously saying, I come in peace.
Wow. We've covered a lot of ground here, and I've already learned so much. But this is only part one of our deep dive into Van Edwards' book, right? What else is in store for us?
We've only just begun to explore the fascinating world of nonverbal cues. Next, we'll delve into the danger zone, those nonverbal cues that can sabotage our charisma and make us appear unapproachable or untrustworthy. And after that, we'll explore the nuances of vocal and verbal cues, uncovering how our voice tone and word choice can make or break our charismatic impact.
I can't wait. This is like unlocking a secret code for human communication. I'm ready to hear more about these so-called danger zone cues. It sounds like we need to tread carefully here.
Yeah, these cues can inadvertently sabotage our efforts to project warmth, competence, and charisma. They're essentially sending the wrong signals, making us appear unapproachable, untrustworthy, or even incompetent.
Okay, I'm all ears. Give me the lowdown on these charisma killers.
One of the most common and often unconscious danger zone cues is distancing. As humans, we naturally gravitate towards things we like and move away from things we dislike. So if you're physically distancing yourself from someone leaning back, turning away, or even taking a step back, it sends a clear signal that you're not interested or engaged.
That makes sense. It's like our body language is betraying our true feelings, even if we're trying to be polite. Are there any other nonverbal cues that we should avoid?
Absolutely. Another big one is self-soothing. These are those little gestures we do when we're feeling anxious or uncomfortable, like touching our face, rubbing our arms, or playing with our hair.
Oh, I'm a total self-soother, especially in awkward situations. I never realized it could be so detrimental to my charisma.
It can be because it signals a lack of confidence and composure. People might perceive you as nervous, insecure, or even untrustworthy. What's interesting is that self-soothing behaviors often stem from a primal need to comfort ourselves when we feel threatened or out of our element.
So it's like our inner caveman is taking over, trying to protect us from perceived danger.
Exactly. And while these gestures might make us feel better in the moment, they can send the wrong message to those around us. The key is to become aware of these habits and find alternative ways to manage our anxiety.
So deep breaths and power posing instead of hair twirling. Got it. What about blocking? I remember Van Edwards mentioning that in the articles.
Blocking is anything you do that physically creates a barrier between you and the other person. This could be crossing your arms, holding a drink in front of your chest, or even using your phone as a shield. It essentially sends a message of closed-mindedness, defensiveness, or disinterest.
So even if I'm genuinely interested in what someone is saying, but I'm holding a coffee cup in front of me, they might misinterpret my body language.
That's right, our brains are wired to interpret these signals in a certain way, often without us even realizing it. If you want to project openness and approachability, make sure you're not blocking your body, keep your hands visible and your posture relaxed and inviting.
I've started to see a theme here. It's all about being aware of our nonverbal cues and making sure they're aligned with the message we want to send. What other danger zone cues should we be on the lookout for?
One that might surprise you is shame. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that you're feeling ashamed in the moment. Van Edwards is referring to a specific gesture where someone touches the sides of their forehead with their fingertips.
Interesting. I've definitely seen people do that, but I never knew what it meant. What does it signify?
It's a subtle cue that can signal embarrassment, confusion, or even worry. If you're the one who inadvertently triggered this gesture, it's a sign that you might have said or done something that made the other person feel uncomfortable.
Wow, that's a valuable insight. So if I see someone do that, what's the best way to respond?
The key is to be empathetic and observant. Try to identify what might have caused the discomfort and address it in a sensitive way. Maybe you need to clarify a statement, offer reassurance, or simply change the subject.
It's all about reading the room and responding with compassion and understanding. What other danger zone cues should we be aware of?
The last one Van Edwards mentions is the bothered face. This is when our facial expressions betray our true feelings, even when we're trying to appear neutral or pleasant.
I have a feeling I'm guilty of this one. Sometimes my face has a mind of its own.
It happens to the best of us. Maybe it's a furrowed brow, a slight frown, or even a sarcastic smirk that's giving away your true emotions.
So even if we're trying to keep a poker face, our faces might be leaking information.
Exactly. And this can be especially damaging to our charisma because it makes us appear unapproachable, unfriendly, or even untrustworthy.
I'm starting to see that nonverbal communication is a lot more nuanced than I ever imagined. It's like a secret language that we're constantly speaking, whether we realize it or not. Okay, so we've covered the nonverbal cues that can enhance our charisma, as well as those that can sabotage it. What's next on our charisma journey?
We're going to move on to the fascinating world of vocal cues. It's not just what we say, but how we say it.
This is where I tend to get tripped up. I'm always self-conscious about my voice. Sometimes I feel like I sound monotone or too high-pitched.
Don't worry, you're not alone. Many people struggle with their vocal presence. But the good news is that, like nonverbal cues, vocal cues can be learned and mastered. Get ready to unlock the power of your voice because next we're diving deep into the vocal cues that can make you sound more charismatic, warm, and competent.
Okay, let's talk vocal cues. I'm excited to discover how to make my voice work for me instead of against me. I've always been fascinated by how much our voices can convey, even without words.
It's true. Your voice is a powerful instrument, and Van Edwards in her book Cues, she really dives deep into these nuances of vocal charisma. And for good reason, our voices convey not just information, but also emotions, intentions, even personality traits.
It's not just what we say, but how we say it, right?
Exactly. You could have the most brilliant message in the world, but if your delivery falls flat, it's not going to resonate. It's like a beautiful song, but sung off-key.
Okay, I'm ready to find my perfect pick. Where do we even begin?
Well, Van Edwards breaks down vocal cues into three main categories: charisma, warmth, and competence, mirroring the nonverbal cues that we talked about earlier.
I'm seeing a pattern here, makes it easier to remember. So let's start with charisma. That makes a voice charismatic.
One of the most important elements is modern charismatic speakers infuse their voices with genuine emotion, making their words come alive. Think of someone like Martin Luther King Jr. or Oprah Winfrey. Their passion is palpable in their voices.
Yeah, their words are powerful, but it's the delivery that gives me chills. So how do we cultivate that vocal emotion? Is it about practicing different tones or something?
It actually starts with authenticity. If you're genuinely passionate about your message, that will shine through in your voice.
So no faking it till you make it.
Nope. People are incredibly perceptive, especially when it comes to vocal cues. They can spot a phony a mile away.
Okay, authenticity noted. What else contributes to a charismatic voice?
Confidence plays a huge role, and one way to project vocal confidence is by speaking at a lower pitch.
I've been told that before, especially in professional setting, but I always struggle with it. It feels so unnatural.
It can take practice, but it's worth it. A lower pitch conveys authority, credibility, control. Think of James Earl Jones' voice. It just commands attention.
Okay, no more squeaky, high-pitched me. Got it. Any other vocal cues that can project confidence?
Yeah, your breath is essential. Charismatic speakers use their breath effectively to support their voice and project their words with power and clarity.
I know when I get nervous, I take these short, shallow breaths, and my voice always ends up sounding shaky.
Exactly. When you breathe deeply, you oxygenate your body, you calm your nerves, your voice will resonate more fully, and you'll just project an aura of composure.
Deep breaths check. Okay, what other charismatic vocal cues should I be working on?
Van Edwards highlights expansiveness, and channeling expansiveness means having a full, resonant, engaging voice. Think of Morgan Freeman. His voice just fills the room.
I would love to have a voice like that. And what about channeling? Does that mean channeling my inner Morgan Freeman?
Exactly. Find a speaker whose voice you admire. Could be anyone. A famous speaker, a podcaster, even a friend. Pay attention to their tone, their pace, their rhythm, and see if you can incorporate elements of their style into your own voice.
I love that. It's like having a vocal mentor. Okay, so we've covered charisma. Now, how do we infuse our voices with warmth?
Start with a happy hello. It's as simple as it sounds. Say hello with genuine warmth and enthusiasm.
I never even thought about it that way, but it makes sense. A warm greeting can instantly set a positive tone.
Exactly, it shows you're happy to be interacting with the other person. And don't forget about warm-up phrases like, it's so good to see you, or I've been looking forward to this.
Those little phrases can make such a big difference. They instantly create a sense of connection. What about mirroring? We talked about nonverbal mirroring. Is there like a vocal version of that?
Absolutely. Vocal mirroring involved subtly matching the other person's tone, their pace, their volume.
So if someone is speaking softly and slowly, I might adjust my voice to match theirs.
Precisely. It creates a subconscious sense of rapport and understanding, making the other person feel heard and validated.
This is fascinating. It's amazing how these subtle adjustments can have such a powerful impact. Okay, so on to competence then. What makes a voice sound more authoritative and knowledgeable?
We talked about a lower tone earlier. Volume control is also crucial. Competent speakers know how to modulate their volume for emphasis and impact.
So it's not about being loud, but about using volume strategically.
Right? And don't underestimate the power of the pause. Confident speakers use pauses strategically to give their listeners time to process information, build anticipation, emphasize key points.
Pausing is an art form. I think I tend to just rush through my words when I'm nervous.
It's a common mistake, but silence can be incredibly powerful. It allows you to gather your thoughts, breathe deeply, and just deliver your message with more impact.
This is also helpful. I feel like I have a whole new set of vocal tools to work with. Is there anything else we should know about vocal charisma before we wrap up?
Yeah, Van Edwards also highlights some danger zone vocal cues that we should try to avoid.
Oh, I have a feeling I'm guilty of some of these. Lay it on me.
One common one is question inflection, also known as upspeak. It's when you raise your pitch at the end of a sentence, making statements sound like questions.
Oh, I do that all the time. I didn't realize it was so detrimental. Why is it bad?
It makes you sound unsure of yourself, like you're seeking approval or validation. It can undermine your credibility.
Ouch, noted. What else should I steer clear of?
Vocal fry is another culprit. It's that creepy, raspy sound at the end of a sentence.
Oh yeah, I hear that voice everywhere these days. It's like an epidemic.
And it's incredibly damaging to your credibility. It can make you sound unintelligent, unprofessional, and even insecure.
Okay, vocal fry banished. Any other vocal villains to watch out for?
The last one is vocal denial. It's when you use a negative tone or inflection to express disagreement.
So instead of saying I disagree, I might say I disagree with like a dismissive tone.
Exactly. It creates conflict and tension. It's much more effective to disagree respectfully, using a neutral tone and providing a clear explanation for your perspective.
Well, this deep dive into nonverbal and vocal cues has been truly eye-opening. I feel like I have a whole new toolkit for communicating with warmth, competence, and charisma.
And remember, charisma is a skill, not a gift. It takes practice. Start by becoming more aware of your own cues and then experiment. With time, you'll communicate more effectively and achieve your goals.
Thank you so much for this incredible deep dive into the world of cues. I feel empowered to take control of my communication and make a lasting impact. Until next time, I first go for no.